Step back. Back away from that elevator right now. Zara's hand froze halfway to the button panel, her portfolio sliding against her hip. A woman in an immaculate blazer was charging toward her, designer heels hammering the marble floor like warning shots. "Step back," the woman commanded, one manicured hand raised like a stop sign. "That elevator is strictly off limits." "What were you thinking?" Heat crawled up Zara's neck as heads turned throughout the lobby. She stumbled backward, nearly losing her balance. "I didn't realize there wasn't any marking. I just thought—" "It doesn't require a marking," the woman cut her off, adjusting her blazer with sharp, irritated gestures. "Everyone who works here knows that's exclusively Mr. Kang's elevator. You must be your first day." The way she emphasized first day sounded like an accusation. "I'm actually here for an interview," Zara managed, pressing her portfolio against her chest like armor. Her voice emerged quieter than intended. "I apologize. I wasn't aware of the protocol." "Well, congratulations on the worst possible introduction," the woman said, checking an expensive watch. "Human resources is on 15. Use the public elevators like everyone else." A small audience had formed, employees pausing their morning routines to witness the spectacle. Zara wished the polished floor would crack open and consume her. 3 weeks in Seoul, 3 minutes in this building, and she'd already branded herself as the clueless outsider who couldn't follow basic rules. The entrance doors swept open. The atmosphere shifted instantly, like someone had muted the volume on the entire world. The woman who'd been scolding Zara straightened as if electrified, her expression transforming from irritation to professional warmth. Other employees suddenly discovered urgent business in opposite directions. Even the security guard at the reception desk adjusted his posture. Kang Minho entered like gravity itself bent toward him, because in this building, it did. Zara had encountered powerful men before, her father's business partners in Lagos, the government officials at her cousin's wedding, men who displayed authority like tailored suits. But Minho carried something else entirely. He moved through the lobby with the effortless confidence of someone who'd never needed to raise his voice to command a room. His charcoal suit fit him with the precision that suggested a personal tailor. His dark hair was styled back, revealing features that belonged on magazine covers. And when his gaze swept the lobby, the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Those eyes landed on Zara. She caught the flicker of recognition, quickly concealed. Her heart stuttered, then accelerated. "No, this isn't happening. Not here. Not like this." He wasn't supposed to be here. Wasn't supposed to see her wearing her interview outfit and her desperation like cheap perfume. Minho stopped walking. The woman beside Zara made a small, confused sound. "Mr. Kang, I was just informing this young woman that she cannot use your private—" "That elevator," Minho said, his voice measured and calm, "is for her use." The silence that descended was absolute. Zara could hear her own pulse hammering in her ears. I apologize, sir." The woman's professional smile had frozen like a system error. Minho walked past her without acknowledgement, pressing the elevator button himself. The doors opened obediently. He looked at Zara, and something in his expression was almost tender. "Shall we?" Zara's feet refused to cooperate. Every person in that lobby was staring at her now, and she could practically hear their thoughts, calculating who she was, what connection she possessed to their CEO. Why a woman in an inexpensive blouse and worn shoes warranted his personal elevator. If they only knew. If she only knew what to do with the knowledge. 4 days ago, she'd married this man in a government office that smelled like disinfectant and fading dreams. They'd signed documents, exchanged plain rings, promised each other forever with the kind of reckless certainty that strikes when you meet someone and the universe seems to align. She'd believed he was her blind date, the man her friend had arranged, the successful businessman who might offer her a fresh beginning in Seoul. She'd believed it was destiny. She'd been mistaken. Miss Adeyemi. Minho's voice pulled her back to the present. He stood in the elevator, one hand holding the door, waiting. His use of her name sent another wave of shock through the watching crowd. Her legs finally remembered their function. She walked forward, feeling every stair burning into her back, and stepped into the elevator. The doors closed, sealing them alone together. The moment they were isolated, the atmosphere changed. Minho didn't move closer, but she felt the weight of his attention like a physical presence. "You came," he said quietly. "I have an interview." The words emerged sharper than she'd intended. She stared at the elevator panel, watching the numbers climb. "For a custodial position," he stated. She felt him turn to look at her fully. "You don't need an interview. I can arrange direct employment. Any department you prefer." "No." The word surprised her with its firmness. "I came for an interview, and that's what I'll complete. I don't want people assuming," she stopped, uncertain how to finish without revealing too much. "Assuming what? That I married you for your wealth? That I'm exploiting you? That I manipulated you into a marriage you didn't realize was a mistake? That I received preferential treatment," she said instead. The elevator decelerated as it approached the executive floors. Minho was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, his voice held something she couldn't identify. "Zara, look at me." She didn't want to. Looking at him complicated everything. Made her remember how his hand had felt in hers when they'd signed the marriage certificate. How he'd looked at her like she was something precious. How he'd promised to care for her without even knowing she was fleeing a life that had collapsed around her. But she looked. His dark eyes were intense, searching her face. "Why does your position matter? Why does their opinion matter? Because I'm not who you believe I am. Because you married the wrong woman. Because when my best friend called yesterday and informed me I'd gone to the wrong location, that I'd met the wrong man, that my actual blind date had been waiting at a different address entirely, my entire world tilted on its axis. You think I chose you? You think this was meant to happen, but it was all just a terrible cosmic accident." "It matters to me," she said quietly. The elevator chimed. 15th floor, human resources. Minho reached out and pressed the button to keep the doors closed. "At least let me ensure they treat you fairly. I don't need you to." "Zara." His hand moved toward her face, then stopped, falling back to his side like he'd remembered something. "I understand you want independence. I respect that. But let me care about your well-being. That's what husbands do." The word struck her like ice water. Husband. He said it so naturally, like their marriage was genuine and intentional and built on something more than confused timing and wrong addresses. "I need to go," she whispered, and pressed the door open button before he could respond. She walked out without looking back, feeling his gaze on her until the elevator doors closed between them. The Human Resources office was exactly what she anticipated. Fluorescent lighting, motivational posters, a receptionist who looked bored until Zara mentioned her interview appointment. The woman's eyebrows rose slightly as she checked her computer. Custodial services. You came all the way to the executive floor for that? Zara's cheeks burned. I got on the incorrect elevator. Clearly. The receptionist printed a form and slid it across the desk. Complete this. Someone will call you. The interview itself was mechanical. A tired-looking man asked basic questions, barely glancing at her carefully prepared resume. Could she work nights? Yes. Could she handle physical demands? Yes. Did she have problems with authority? No. He hired her immediately with all the enthusiasm of someone checking boxes on a mandatory form. You start Monday. Night shift, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Report to Supervisor Okonkwo on the 10th floor. Zara's stomach plummeted. Okonkwo. Yes. Nkechi Okonkwo, head of facilities management. He was already standing, clearly ready for her departure. She maintains high standards. Don't be late. The world tilted sideways. Nkechi, her sister. Her perfect, successful older sister, who'd left Nigeria 6 years ago and never looked back. The sister who'd made it crystal clear at their mother's funeral that Zara's choices had embarrassed the family, that her broken engagement had been disgraceful, that she needed to repair her life before daring to contact any of them again. That Nkechi. Zara walked out of the building in a daze, Seoul's grey sky pressing down like a weight. She'd come here to escape, to start over, to become someone new. Instead, she'd accidentally married her CEO and was about to work under her estranged sister's supervision. The universe, it seemed, had a cruel sense of humour. Her phone buzzed. A text from Minho. Dinner tonight. I want to hear about your day. She stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. What could she possibly say? That she'd lied by omission? That their entire marriage was built on mistaken identity? That she had no idea how to untangle this mess without breaking both their hearts? Can't tonight. Rain check? His response came immediately. Of course. But Zara, we need to talk soon. Yes, she thought, closing her eyes. They needed to. She should tell him everything. The wrong location, the confusion, the truth that she'd married a stranger thinking he was someone else entirely. But every time she tried to imagine that conversation, she saw the hurt in his eyes, the betrayal, the moment when he realized she'd been lying to him since the beginning. And coward that she was, she couldn't face it yet. Monday arrived with the inevitability of a storm. Zara showed up at 6 p.m. sharp, wearing the provided uniform, a blue polo shirt and dark pants that made her feel invisible in the best possible way. The 10th floor was mostly empty at this hour, the office workers having escaped for their evening freedom. A few lights still burned in corner offices where ambitious employees stayed late to impress their superiors. You must be the new hire. Zara turned to find a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a tired smile. I'm Hyejin. I'll train you tonight before Supervisor Okonkwo arrives. She usually does rounds around 8. The work itself was straightforward. Empty trash receptacles, vacuum floors, wipe down conference tables, clean restrooms, restock supplies. Hyejin talked while they worked, filling the silence with office gossip and practical advice. Don't use the lemon cleaner on the marble. Don't forget to check under desks for abandoned coffee cups. Don't ever, ever enter the CEO's office without explicit permission. Someone was terminated for that once, Hyejin said, spraying down a glass conference table. Went in to empty the trash and accidentally disturbed some important documents. Gone the next day. Zara's hands tightened on her mop. He seemed strict. Mr. Kang? Hyejin laughed. No, actually he's fair from what I understand. But that woman who was fired, she was stealing. The documents were just the excuse they needed. He doesn't tolerate dishonesty. The words landed like stones in Zara's stomach. Anyway, Hyejin continued, oblivious to Zara's sudden pallor. Just do your work, keep your head down, and you'll be fine. And whatever you do, stay clear of Supervisor Okonkwo when she's in a mood. That woman can be... She paused, searching for a diplomatic word. Can be what? Both women spun around. Nkechi stood in the hallway, her posture perfect, her expression carved from ice. She wore a sharp pantsuit that probably cost more than Zara's entire month's rent, her hair pulled back in an elegant bun that showcased the bone structure they'd both inherited from their mother. Hyejin paled. Supervisor Okonkwo, I was just training the new hire. Yes, I can see that. Nkechi's eyes slid to Zara, and for one terrible moment Zara saw the recognition flare, shock followed by something darker, and doing an inadequate job of it. From what I observed, this table still has streaks. I'm sorry, the new hire will redo it. You, Hyejin, can handle the executive wing alone. It wasn't a suggestion. Hyejin shot Zara an apologetic look before hurrying away, her cart rattling down the hallway. The silence that fell was suffocating. Nkechi walked slowly around Zara, inspecting her like a general reviewing a disappointing recruit. So little, Zara. You followed me to Seoul after all. I didn't follow you. I didn't even know you worked here, didn't you? Her smile was razor-thin. How convenient. How perfectly conveniently coincidental that you'd end up here. In my building, in my department. It's not your building. The slap of words hung in the air between them. Nkechi's eyes flashed dangerously. No, she said softly. But I've worked here for 5 years. I've built a reputation. I've earned respect. And I won't let you ruin that with whatever mess you're running from this time. Zara's hands clenched around the mop handle. I'm not running from anything. I'm starting over. Starting over? Nkechi laughed, cold and bitter. Is that what you call it? What happened, Zara? Did your engagement to that engineer finally collapse? Did you embarrass the family enough that even Lagos couldn't contain you anymore? The wound was still fresh enough to bleed. Zara had been engaged to Damilola, a respected civil engineer, the kind of match that made mothers proud and fathers relieved. Right up until she discovered he'd been sleeping with her cousin. Right up until the wedding invitations had already been sent, and the deposits paid and the shame of calling it off had been almost worse than going through with it. Almost. That's none of your business, Zara said quietly. It became my business when you showed up here. Do you understand what people will say when they discover we're related? They'll think I got you this position. They'll think I'm practicing nepotism. They'll question my judgment, then don't tell them. Nkechi stared at her, something ugly working behind her eyes. Finally, she smiled. Fine. We're strangers. You're just another cleaner. And, as your supervisor, I expect perfection. Is that clear? Crystal. Good. Nkechi pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. You'll start by redoing this entire floor. Every surface. I'll inspect it myself at midnight. And tomorrow you'll cover Hyejin's shift as well as your own. We're short-staffed. That's 16 hours? Is that a problem? Zara bit down on her tongue, tasting copper. No, Supervisor Okonkwo. Excellent. Oh, and Zara. Nkechi paused at the elevator. Stay away from the executive floor. That area is reserved for senior cleaning staff only. You're not qualified. The elevator doors closed on her satisfied smile. Zara stood there, trembling with anger and something that felt dangerously close to tears. She wanted to scream. She wanted to call Minho and tell him everything and let him fire Nkechi on the spot. She wanted to quit, to run, to go back to Nigeria and face the whispers and the shame because at least there she understood the rules of engagement. Instead, she picked up her spray bottle and returned to work. The pattern repeated itself over the next week. Nkechi found every possible way to make Zara's life miserable, assigning her the worst tasks, criticizing work that was flawless, scheduling her for double shifts, making her redo entire floors over imagined imperfections. Other cleaners began to avoid Zara, not wanting to be caught in the crossfire of whatever war was being waged. Zara endured it silently. She needed this employment. More than that, she needed to prove to herself that she could survive independently, that she didn't need to run to Minho for protection, that their accidental marriage wouldn't define every choice she made. But Minho was making that increasingly difficult. He texted her every day, called when she didn't respond, left voicemails that started casual and grew progressively more concerned. She'd been avoiding him since that first day, making excuses, claiming exhaustion, promising they'd talk soon. The wedding ring she wore on a chain beneath her uniform burned against her skin like an accusation. "Why are you hiding from your husband?" Zara jumped, nearly dropping the trash bag she'd been hauling. Hyejin stood in the break room doorway, arms crossed, expression knowing. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please." "I've been doing this job for 13 years. Hyejin poured herself a cup of coffee that smelled like it had been brewing since the previous administration. "I see everything." She sat across from Zara, maternal concerns softening her features. "That's a wedding ring on that chain. And you check your phone like you're expecting a call from someone important. Someone you're avoiding." Zara slumped into a plastic chair. "It's complicated. It always is. But honey, complicated doesn't improve by itself. It just becomes more complicated. Trust me." "What if—" Zara hesitated. Then the words tumbled out before she could stop them. "What if you married someone under false pretenses? Not intentionally, but because of a misunderstanding. And now they believe it's real, and you don't know how to tell them the truth without destroying everything." Hyejin was quiet for a long moment, stirring her coffee with deliberate slowness. "Is it real for you?" The question hit Zara like a freight train. Was it real? When she thought about Minho, she remembered the way he'd listened to her talk for hours in that café. How he'd asked about her dreams instead of her credentials. How he'd looked at her like she was the only person in the world who mattered. She remembered his hand, warm in hers, his voice steady as he'd promised to cherish her. The surprising rightness of saying yes to a man she'd just met. She remembered the way her heart had fractured when she'd realized it was all a mistake. "I don't know," she whispered. "Then maybe you need to figure that out before you have that conversation." Before Zara could respond, the break room door slammed open. A younger cleaner named Sora rushed in, slightly breathless. "Zara, Supervisor Okonkwo wants you on the executive floor now. Some executives spilled coffee everywhere and specifically requested you." Zara's blood ran cold. The executive floor. "But she said I wasn't permitted. She said get up there now or don't bother returning." It was a trap. Zara knew it with the certainty of someone who'd grown up with Nkechi's particular brand of manipulation. But what choice did she have? She grabbed her cleaning supplies and took the elevator up, her heart pounding with each ascending floor. The executive level was quiet, most offices dark except for a few burning the midnight oil. She found the coffee spill outside a conference room. It wasn't a spill. Someone had deliberately poured an entire pot across the marble floor, the dark liquid spreading in an intentional pattern. In-Kichi emerged from a nearby office, her smile sharp as glass. "There you are. Clean that up. We have an important client meeting here at 7 a.m. Zara knelt and began mopping up the mess, hyper-aware of her sister watching her like a predator studying prey. "You know," Nkechi said conversationally, "I've been thinking about our little situation. And I've realized something interesting." Zara didn't respond, focusing on the coffee stains. "You've been working here for a week, and not once have I seen you interact with the CEO, Strange, don't you think? After that dramatic elevator incident, Zara's hands stilled. People talk, little sister. They say he looked at you like he knew you, like you were someone significant. Nkechi crouched down, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. What are you hiding? Nothing. Liar. The word was almost affectionate. You were always a terrible liar. Remember when you tried to hide your exam results? When you snuck out to see that boy? You'd get this look on your face, just like you have now. The elevator chimed. Both women looked up as Minho stepped out, clearly heading for his office. He was in shirt sleeves, tie loosened, looking exhausted in a way that made Zara's heart clench. He hadn't seen them yet, his attention on his phone. Nkechi's eyes gleamed with malicious inspiration. Mr. Kang. Minho looked up, his expression shifting to polite professionalism. Supervisor Okonkwo. Working late. Just overseeing the cleaning crew. In-Kichi gestured to Zara, still kneeling in coffee-stained water. Our new hire made quite a mess. I'm ensuring she cleans it properly. That was when Minho really looked at Zara. She saw the shock register, seeing her here like this in a custodial uniform, on her hands and knees while her sister stood over her. Something dangerous flashed across his face. I see, he said, his voice carefully neutral. And is this standard management practice? Watching your employees work? I believe in hands-on supervision. How thorough of you. Minho's attention shifted fully to Zara. You. What's your name? The formality in his tone hurt more than Zara expected. He was protecting her, she realized, by pretending they were strangers, playing the roles she'd forced on him. Zara Adeyemi, sir. Miss Adeyemi, when you're finished here, please bring fresh coffee to my office. I'll be working late. Nkechi's eyebrows shot up. Sir, that's not really part of her duties. I'm making it part of her duties. His tone left no room for argument. Is that a problem, Supervisor Okonkwo? Of course not, Mr. Kang. He walked away without another word, leaving Zara kneeling in spilled coffee and Nkechi vibrating with barely suppressed fury. The moment Minho was out of earshot, Nkechi grabbed Zara's arm, hard enough to bruise. What the hell was that? I don't know. He probably just wants coffee. Don't play stupid with me. Nkechi's nails dug into Zara's skin. There's something between you two. I can smell it. And whatever it is, I'm going to discover it. She released Zara with a shove and stalked toward the elevators, leaving Zara alone with her racing thoughts and the coffee that had long since turned cold. 20 minutes later, Zara stood outside Minho's office with a fresh pot of coffee and hands that wouldn't stop shaking. She knocked softly. Come in. His office was exactly what she'd expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering night skyline. Minimalist furniture. Everything precisely arranged. Minho sat behind his desk, jacket discarded, working on a document with the kind of focus that meant he was furious. Close the door. She did, setting the coffee tray on his desk with careful precision. Sit down, Zara. I should return to... Sit. It wasn't a request. She sank into the chair across from him, feeling like a child called to the principal's office. Minho poured himself coffee with controlled movements, took a sip, then set the cup down with deliberate gentleness. How long were you planning to avoid me? I wasn't avoiding you. I've been working. You've been working as a custodian at night in a building where I offered you any position you wanted. His voice was quiet, but she heard the hurt underneath. Why? Because I don't deserve any position I didn't earn. Because people will think I slept my way to success. Because if they discover we're married, they'll never see me as anything but the cleaner who trapped their CEO. Because I wanted independence, she said instead. And your supervisor? The one who was standing over you like you were something stuck to her shoe? Zara flinched. She's just doing her job. Is she? Minho stood, moving to the windows, his silhouette dark against the city lights. I don't interfere with my managers. I trust them to run their departments. But I will not tolerate abuse. Tell me her name. No. He turned to face her, surprised. No. I need to handle this myself. Please. She stood, moving closer to him before she could think better of it. I know you want to help. I know you could make all of this disappear with a phone call, but I need to prove that I can survive on my own merit. Do you understand? Minho studied her for a long moment, something conflicted working behind his eyes. Then he reached out and cupped her face with one hand, his thumb brushing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. I married you because you were strong, he said quietly. Because in that café, you told me about surviving your mother's death and your broken engagement and moving to a foreign country alone. And you did it without asking for pity. I don't want to take that strength away from you, Zara. But I also won't stand by and watch someone break you. She leaned into his touch before she could stop herself, closing her eyes against the sudden sting of tears. I'm not breaking. You're working 16-hour shifts and avoiding your husband. That's breaking. Tell him. Tell him now. Tell him it was all a mistake, that you married the wrong man, that every tender moment has been built on a foundation of confusion and wrong timing. I just need time, she whispered instead. His hand dropped away. Time for what? To figure out if this accidental marriage could become a real one. To see if the feelings growing in her chest were genuine or just gratitude for his kindness. To decide if she had the courage to confess or the strength to live with the lie. To adjust, she said. Everything happened so fast. I just need time to adjust. Minho was quiet for so long she thought he might press the issue, but finally he nodded. Okay. But Zara, I meant what I said in that government office. I don't make promises I don't intend to keep. The weight of those words followed her all the way back to the 10th floor, where Nkechi was waiting with a list of additional tasks that would keep Zara working until dawn. Over the next 2 weeks, a dangerous pattern emerged. During the day, or what passed for day in Zara's inverted schedule, she slept fitfully in her tiny apartment, dreaming of coffee spills and wedding rings and the look in Minho's eyes when he touched her face. At night, she worked under Nkechi's increasingly creative cruelty. Her sister seemed determined to find her breaking point, assigning impossible tasks, manufacturing complaints, watching her with the cold calculation of someone planning a killing blow. But she also seemed to be searching for something. Zara would catch Nkechi watching her during breaks, studying her phone, trailing behind her when she took trash to the dumpsters. Whatever Nkechi suspected about Zara's connection to Minho, she hadn't found proof yet. And Minho. Minho was everywhere and nowhere. He'd taken to working late more often, which meant Zara cleaned his floor while he was in his office. Sometimes she'd see his light burning and feel the pull to knock, to talk, to stop hiding. He never called her to his office again, respecting her request for space even though she could feel the cost of it. But he found other ways to care for her. A bottle of water would appear on her cleaning cart when she wasn't looking. The schedule would mysteriously adjust so she wasn't working consecutive 16-hour shifts. Hyejin mentioned that the CEO had personally approved a raise for all night cleaning staff. Small protections offered from a distance because he'd promised not to interfere, but couldn't seem to help himself. It made everything worse, made the guilt heavier, made the lie harder to maintain. You look terrible, Hyejin said one night, catching Zara nodding off in the break room. When's the last time you slept more than 3 hours at a stretch? Zara didn't answer. Hyejin sighed, maternal disapproval radiating from her. Whatever you're trying to prove, it's not worth your health. And that supervisor of yours is getting worse. Last week, she made Sora redo the bathrooms 5 times over a water spot. 5 times. The poor girl went home crying. She's thorough. She's cruel. There's a difference. Hyejin leaned forward, lowering her voice. People are starting to talk, saying she has it out for you specifically, saying there must be a reason. Zara's stomach dropped. What kind of reason? Who knows? Office gossip is like a game of telephone. By the time it circulates, the truth doesn't matter anymore. Just the story. Hyejin stood, gathering her things. Be careful, honey. Women like Supervisor Okonkwo, they don't stop until they get what they want. That night, In-Kichi proved Hyejin right. Zara, I need you to deliver something to Mr. Kang's office. It was nearly midnight. Zara looked up from the restroom she'd been scrubbing, surprised. Nkechi never asked her to deliver anything to the executive floor, having explicitly banned her from it after that first incident. You want me to take this coffee to his office? He specifically requested it be brought up immediately. Nkechi held out a tray with a single cup, her smile pleasant and professional, and utterly false. Every instinct screamed trap. But what could she do? Refuse a direct order from her supervisor? Zara took the tray with shaking hands and headed for the elevator. The executive floor was quiet, most offices dark. She could see light under Minho's door and heard voices inside. He was in a meeting. Good. She'd leave the coffee and disappear before he saw her. She was 3 steps from his office when someone bumped into her from behind. The coffee flew from the tray in a perfect arc, hot liquid spraying everywhere. Zara twisted instinctively, trying to catch it, trying to prevent disaster. The cup shattered on the marble floor, sending shards and coffee in all directions. Minho's door opened. He stood in the doorway, 2 senior executives behind him, all 3 men staring at the mess. At Zara, kneeling in broken ceramic and spilled coffee, her uniform soaked. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, already scrambling to clean it up with her bare hands. "I'm so sorry. I'll clean this immediately. What happened?" Minho's voice was carefully controlled, but she heard the steel underneath. The new hire can't even handle a simple coffee delivery. Nkechi appeared from around the corner, her timing too perfect to be coincidental. She must have been hiding, waiting for exactly this moment. You can't even do this one thing right. What can you possibly do? The executives murmured to each other, clearly uncomfortable with the scene. Zara wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor, to be anywhere but here. "It was an accident," she said quietly, not looking up. "I'll have this cleaned in 5 minutes. I apologize for the disruption." "An accident?" Nkechi's laugh was sharp and cutting. "This is the 3rd time this week you've made a mess on the executive floor. Perhaps you're not suited for this position after all." "That's enough." Minho's voice cut through the hallway like a blade. "Gentlemen, excuse me for a moment." He walked past Zara, past the coffee, and stopped directly in front of Nkechi. The temperature in the hallway seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Supervisor Okonkwo. A word in my office. Now." Nkechi's smile didn't waver, but Zara saw the flash of uncertainty in her eyes. "Of course, Mr. Kang." They disappeared into his office, closing the door. The 2 executives exchanged glances, then quietly retreated to the elevator, clearly wanting no part of whatever was about to happen. Zara knelt there in the coffee, her hands still trembling, and waited for the axe to fall. 10 minutes later, Minho's door opened. Nkechi emerged, her face a mask of professional composure, but her hands were clenched into fists at her sides. She walked past Zara without a word, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. "Zara, come inside." She stood on shaking legs, hyper-aware of her coffee-soaked uniform, the pieces of ceramic still clinging to her hands. Minho had already returned to his desk, his expression unreadable. "Close the door." She did. "Sit. I'll get coffee on your chair." "Sit down, Zara." She sat, perching on the edge of the expensive leather, trying not to leave stains. Minho was quiet for a long moment, his fingers steepled under his chin, watching her with an intensity that made her want to squirm. "You've been mistreated," he finally said. "Repeatedly. Systematically." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I told you. You told me you wanted to handle things yourself." "Fine. I respected that. But there's a difference between handling workplace challenges and enduring targeted harassment." His voice was calm, but she heard the anger underneath. "Supervisor Okonkwo will be reassigned to a different department, effective immediately." Zara's head snapped up. "You can't do that because of me. I'm not doing it because of you. I'm doing it because I just reviewed your work logs and discovered you've been scheduled for shifts that violate labour laws, assigned tasks outside your job description, and subjected to disciplinary action for infractions that don't exist in your file. That's not management. That's abuse. She'll know I complained to you." "You didn't complain." "I noticed. There's a difference." Minho stood, moving around the desk to crouch in front of her chair, bringing himself to eye level. "Zara, why are you protecting her?" "Because she's my sister. Because our family is already broken, and this will shatter it completely. Because if you knew the truth about our relationship, you'd ask questions I can't answer without revealing everything. I'm not protecting her. I just don't want to cause trouble. You are not the one causing trouble." His hand moved to her knee, a touch that was both gentle and grounding. "But I need you to understand something. I won't stand by and watch someone hurt you. I can't. Do you understand?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. "Good. Now I'm making you my personal cleaner. You'll work directly for me. Maintain only my office and the executive conference room. Regular hours, proper pay. No more night shifts. No more impossible tasks. Just honest work." It was exactly what she didn't want. Special treatment. Favoritism. Proof that she was only here because of her connection to him. But looking at his face, at the genuine concern there, she couldn't find the words to refuse. "Okay," she whispered. "And Zara." He reached up, gently removing a piece of ceramic from her hair. "Go home, shower, sleep. You start your new position Monday. That's an order from your CEO, not a request from your—" He stopped, the word husband hanging unspoken between them. She left his office in a daze, taking the elevator down to the employee locker room. Her phone buzzed as she gathered her things. A text from an unknown number. "This isn't over. You think you've won? You haven't. I know you're hiding something. And when I discover what it is, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you really are." Zara's hands shook as she deleted the message, but she couldn't delete the sick feeling in her stomach. The certainty that her sister was right. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. She went home to her tiny apartment and stood in the shower until the water ran cold, washing away coffee and ceramic and tears she hadn't realized she was crying. Then she collapsed into bed and slept for 15 hours straight, dreaming of elevators and wedding rings and the moment when all her carefully constructed lies would finally come crashing down. When she woke, there were 8 missed calls from Minho and 1 new text. "We need to talk. Really talk. No more avoiding. Dinner tonight, please." Zara stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the reply button. She could keep running, keep avoiding, keep pretending that she could somehow navigate this mess without anyone getting hurt. Or she could be brave. Okay, tonight. His response came immediately. I'll cook. Come to my place at 7. She spent the day in a fog of anxiety, trying on and discarding every outfit she owned, practicing confessions in the mirror that all sounded equally terrible. How did you tell someone that your entire relationship was built on a misunderstanding? That the marriage they thought was fate was really just cosmic bad timing? At 6:55 p.m., she stood outside Minho's building, a sleek high-rise in Gangnam that probably cost more per month than she made in a year, and seriously considered running. But then her phone buzzed with a new message. I can see you from my window. Come up or I'm coming down. Your choice. She looked up and saw him 17 floors above, standing at a window with his phone in his hand. Even from this distance, she could see his smile. Coward that she was, she went up. His apartment was beautiful in an understated way. Clean lines, warm wood, floor-to-ceiling windows that turned soul into art. It smelled like garlic and something cooking that made her stomach growl embarrassingly loud. You came, Minho said, taking her jacket with a gentleness that made her chest ache. He was in casual clothes, jeans and a soft sweater that made him look younger, more approachable, devastatingly handsome. You said you'd come down if I didn't. I would have. He led her to the kitchen where something was simmering on the stove. I'm making kimchi jjigae. Nothing fancy, but it's comfort food. You look like you could use some comfort. She watched him move around the kitchen with easy confidence, stirring, tasting, adjusting seasonings. Domestic. Normal. Like they were a real couple sharing a real meal, building a real life. It made what she had to tell him so much worse. They ate in companionable silence at first, the food warming her from the inside out. Minho had opened a bottle of wine, and after her second glass, Zara felt her courage building. Minho, I need to tell you something. He set down his spoon, his full attention on her. I'm listening. That day we met at the café. I was there for a blind date, I know. You told me. But what I didn't tell you. She took a shaky breath. My best friend had set it up. She was supposed to text me the details. The cafe name, the time, what the guy looked like. But she sent me the wrong address. Minho had gone very still, his expression carefully neutral. The wrong address. I went to Café Sora on 7th Street, but I was supposed to go to Café Sora on 17th Street. Different locations, same name. And when I walked in and saw you sitting there alone, looking at your phone, I thought you were him, my blind date. The silence that followed was deafening. Zara forced herself to keep talking, the words tumbling out like a confession. I didn't realize the mistake until after we'd talked for hours, after you'd proposed, after we'd gone to the government office and signed the papers. My friend called me and said, "Where are you? Your blind date is still waiting." And that's when I understood. You weren't my blind date. You were just someone else. Someone at the wrong cafe at the wrong time. Or the right time. I don't know anymore. Minho stood abruptly, walking to the window, his back to her. Zara's heart hammered in her chest. So our entire marriage, he said quietly, was based on a misunderstanding. Yes. No. I mean, she stood too, wringing her hands. At first, yes. But then I got to know you. And you were kind and funny. And you listened to me like I mattered. And somewhere along the way, it stopped being a mistake and started being. She trailed off, unsure how to finish. Started being what? He turned to face her, and his expression was unreadable. Started being real, she whispered. For me, at least. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides, cupping her face in both hands, his eyes searching hers with desperate intensity. Do you know why I was at that café? She shook her head, unable to speak. I was meeting a business associate, but he texted me last minute, changed the location to a different café with the same name. I was sitting there, annoyed, about to leave, when you walked in. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. You looked lost and brave at the same time. And when you sat down across from me and smiled, I thought maybe my associate had done me the greatest favour of my life. Zara's breath caught. I knew within 10 minutes you thought I was someone else, Minho continued. You kept asking questions that didn't make sense, mentioning things I had no context for. But you were so earnest, so genuinely interested in knowing me that I couldn't bring myself to correct you. And then we kept talking, and somewhere in those hours, I fell in love with you. Not the woman who thought I was her blind date, but you. Zara, the real you. You knew. The words came out as a broken whisper. This whole time you knew it was a mistake. I knew it started as a mistake. But when I asked you to marry me, I meant it. When I signed those papers, I chose you. Intentionally. Completely. Tears were streaming down her face now, and she didn't try to stop them. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was afraid if I did, you'd run. You'd think it was all fake. And then, at the office, when you kept avoiding me, when you took that terrible job and worked those awful shifts, I thought maybe you'd figured it out and regretted everything. I don't regret it, she said fiercely, grabbing his wrists, holding his hands against her face. I don't regret you. I just didn't know how to tell you the truth without losing you. You're not losing me. He kissed her forehead, soft and reverent. You can't lose something you never really had by accident. You have me, Zara. Intentionally. Completely. If you want me. She answered by kissing him, pouring every unsaid word, every hidden fear, every desperate hope into it. His arms came around her solid and safe, and for the first time since that government office ceremony, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, the wrong cafe at the wrong time had led her exactly where she was meant to be. They stood there for a long time, holding each other as Seoul glittered outside the windows. Finally, Zara pulled back enough to look at him. What about my sister? Minho's expression darkened. What about her? She's going to discover the truth about us eventually. And when she does, let her. His voice was firm. I'm tired of hiding, tired of pretending. If you're ready, I want everyone to know you're my wife. The word still sent a thrill through her. Wife, his wife. Not by accident, but by choice. She'll try to destroy us, Zara warned. She can try. Minho's smile was sharp. But she'll fail. Because we're not built on lies anymore, Zara. We're built on truth. And that's a much stronger foundation. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But she'd grown up with Nkechi. She knew her sister's capacity for vindictiveness, her talent for finding weaknesses and exploiting them. And now Zara had handed her the ultimate weakness. A secret marriage that could be twisted, misrepresented, turned into a weapon. What are you thinking? Minho asked, reading the worry on her face. I'm thinking my sister isn't going to give up. She texted me after you reassigned her, threatened to expose who I really am. Then we expose ourselves first. He said it so simply, like it was the most obvious solution in the world. Take away her ammunition. Tomorrow we make an announcement. To the company, to the world, to anyone who wants to know. We're married. We're happy. And anyone who has a problem with that can deal with me. It was reckless, impulsive, exactly the kind of thing that had gotten them into this mess in the first place. Okay, Zara said, let's do it. The kiss he gave her then was full of promise. and relief, and the kind of joy that comes from finally being seen exactly as you are. Monday morning, Zara arrived at Kang Industries with Minho, walking through the lobby together, her hand in his. The stares started immediately, whispers rippling through the crowd like wind through grass. She saw employees nudging each other, pulling out phones, the gossip already spreading at the speed of light. By the time they reached the executive floor, half the company probably knew something significant was happening. Minho had called an all-staff meeting for 9 a.m. Zara stood in the back of the conference room as employees filed in, confusion and curiosity written on every face. She saw Hyejin, who caught her eye and smiled, saw Sora, who looked shocked, saw Nkechi, standing in the corner with her arms crossed, her expression carefully blank. When everyone was assembled, Minho took his place at the front of the room. He didn't use the podium, didn't hide behind formality, just stood there commanding attention through sheer presence. Thank you all for coming on short notice. I'll keep this brief. He paused, his eyes finding Zara in the crowd. 3 weeks ago, I got married to Zara Adeyemi, who many of you know as a member of our cleaning staff. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Nkechi had gone very pale. I know this raises questions, Minho continued, his voice cutting through the noise. Questions about propriety, about timing, about conflicts of interest. So let me address them directly. Yes, we met shortly before she started working here. Yes, our relationship developed quickly. And yes, I should have disclosed this marriage to human resources immediately. That was my mistake, and I take full responsibility for it. He gestured for Zara to join him. Her legs felt like water, but she walked to the front of the room, feeling every eye on her. Zara didn't ask for special treatment, Minho said, his hand finding hers. In fact, she explicitly refused it. She wanted to earn her place here based on merit, not marriage. But I won't let her be punished for that integrity. Going forward, she'll be transitioning to a new role in the company, determined by her skills and qualifications, not by her relationship to me. This is insane. Nkechi's voice rang out from the back. All heads turned toward her. You expect us to believe she took a custodial job while married to the CEO? That she just happened to end up working here by coincidence? Minho's expression hardened. I expect you to believe what I'm telling you, Supervisor Okonkwo. Unless you're suggesting I'm lying. I'm suggesting there's more to this story than we're being told. Nkechi pushed through the crowd, her eyes blazing. I'm suggesting that maybe this poor little cleaner saw an opportunity and took it. Maybe she's not the innocent victim you think she is. That's enough. Minho's voice was deadly quiet. Is it? Because I know her. I know exactly what she's capable of. Nkechi turned to address the room. This woman is my sister. My manipulative, scheming younger sister who has a history of using men to get what she wants. And now, she's somehow convinced our CEO to marry her. You don't find that suspicious? The revelations sent shockwaves through the room. Zara felt the ground shifting under her feet, all her worst fears materializing in real time. Your sisters, someone gasped. And you didn't disclose that? Another voice added. She didn't disclose it because she's been hiding what she really is, Nkechi continued, her voice rising. A gold digger, a liar, someone who trapped a good man into marriage and is now playing the victim to cover her tracks. The room dissolved into chaos, everyone talking at once. Zara stood frozen, unable to defend herself, unable to breathe. Then Minho stepped in front of her, his body a shield between her and the crowd. Everyone out. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. The room fell silent. This meeting is over. Return to your departments. Now. People filed out reluctantly, still whispering, still staring. Hyejin gave Zara a supportive nod as she left. Within minutes, only 3 people remained. Zara, Minho, and Nkechi. You don't get to do that, Minho said quietly, dangerously. You don't get to stand in my company and attack my wife. Your wife is my sister, and she's been lying to you from the beginning. Actually, Zara said, finding her voice finally, I told him everything. The wrong café, the mistaken identity, all of it. Unlike you, who failed to disclose a family relationship when supervising a relative. Unlike you, who abused your authority to punish someone for personal reasons. In-Kichi's face twisted with rage. You don't know anything about me, about what I've sacrificed to get where I am. And I won't let you ruin it with your pathetic attempts at manipulation. I never wanted to ruin anything. I didn't even know you worked here. Liar. Nkechi took a step forward, all pretense of professionalism gone. You've always been jealous of me. Always trying to take what's mine, our mother's attention, our father's love, and now this. You think marrying the CEO makes you better than me? I never thought I was better than you, Zara said quietly. I just wanted to be myself, and I'm sorry if that somehow threatened you. Threatened me. You're a custodian who got lucky. You're nothing. She's my wife. Minho's voice was arctic. And she's worth 10 of you. You're fired, Supervisor Okonkwo. Effective immediately. You can't fire me for telling the truth. I'm firing you for workplace harassment, abuse of authority, and creating a hostile work environment, all of which are documented and witnessed. He pulled out his phone, pulling up emails. Would you like to see the formal complaints I've received about your management style over the past 5 years? Or should I mention the labour law violations I discovered in Zara's work logs? I've been lenient because you were a long-term employee. But I'm done being lenient. Nkechi stared at him, then at Zara, her expression cycling through rage and disbelief, and something that might have been hurt. This isn't over. Yes, Minho said firmly. It is. Security will escort you out. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings. Nkechi left without another word, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, her back rigid with fury. The door closed behind her with a decisive thud. Zara collapsed into a chair, trembling. That was a disaster. That was necessary. Minho knelt in front of her, taking her hands. She would have kept coming for you. Kept poisoning the well. This way it's out in the open. No more secrets. No more hiding. Everyone thinks I'm a gold digger now. Some people will always think the worst. But the people who matter, the people who know us, they'll see the truth. He squeezed her hands. And if they don't, we'll prove them wrong. Together. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that love was enough to overcome gossip and scandal and the wreckage of family relationships. But sitting there in the aftermath of In-Kichi's accusations, she felt the weight of everything pressing down on her. What if we can't? We can. He pulled her to her feet, into his arms. Because we're not the wrong people anymore, Zara. We're exactly right. And I'm not letting go of that. Not for your sister. Not for office gossip. Not for anything. She buried her face in his chest, breathing in the cedar scent of his cologne, letting his certainty anchor her. I love you, she whispered. I should have said it before, but I was scared. I love you too. And I'm going to keep saying it until you believe that this is real. They stood there for a long time, holding each other while souls spread out below them through the windows, vast and indifferent and full of possibility. The next few days were brutal. The story spread through the company like wildfire. The CEO married to the custodian, the sister rivalry, the accusations of manipulation. Some people were supportive. Most were just curious, treating Zara like a fascinating specimen to study and discuss. A few were openly hostile, clearly believing in Nkechi's version of events. Human Resources launched an investigation into the whole mess. Nkechi's management practices, Minho's failure to disclose his marriage, the nepotism implications. Zara was interviewed 3 times, her story picked apart and examined from every angle. Through it all, Minho stood firm. He attended every interview with her, refused to apologize for their marriage, and made it crystal clear that anyone who harassed his wife would be looking for new employment. Slowly, painfully, the storm began to pass. The investigation cleared Zara of any wrongdoing and found substantial evidence of Nkechi's abuse of power. Several other employees came forward with their own stories of her vindictive management style. Minho received a formal reprimand for the disclosure failure, but was otherwise untouched. And Zara. Zara was offered a position in the marketing department based on a portfolio she'd built during her university years and never thought anyone would care about. 3 months later, Kang Industries threw its annual Gala, a black-tie affair where executives networked and deals were made, and everyone dressed up to pretend they enjoyed small talk. Zara stood in front of the mirror in Minho's apartment, adjusting the sapphire blue dress he'd bought her, still not quite believing this was her life. "You look beautiful," Minho said, coming up behind her to fasten her necklace. His hands were warm against her skin, steady and sure. "I look terrified." "That too." He kissed her shoulder. "But you'll be fine. We'll be fine." The gala was held in a 5-star hotel, all glittering chandeliers and ice sculptures and champagne that cost more than Zara's monthly salary. She clung to Minho's arm, smiling and nodding through introductions, playing the role of the CEO's wife while trying not to think about the fact that half these people probably still thought she was a gold digger. "Mr. and Mrs. Kang." A booming voice made them both turn. A silver-haired executive approached, his wife on his arm. "Congratulations on your marriage? Quite the love story from what I hear." "Thank you," Minho said smoothly. "We're very happy." "I should think so. Young love is a beautiful thing." The executive's eyes twinkled. "Though I have to say, when my assistant told me you'd married the cleaning lady, I thought it was a joke. Shows what I know about modern romance." He laughed at his own comment. Zara's smile felt like it might crack her face. "Actually," Minho said, his tone pleasant but with an edge underneath, "Zara is our new marketing coordinator. She has a degree in communications and a brilliant eye for branding. The custodial work was just temporary while she got settled in Seoul." "Oh, of course, of course." The executive looked slightly abashed. "My apologies. It's just such an unusual story." "The best ones usually are," Zara said, finding her voice. "If we all married exactly who we were supposed to, life would be terribly boring." The executive laughed, genuinely this time, and moved on to other conversations. Minho looked down at her with undisguised pride. "Brilliant eye for branding. You do. The campaign you pitched last week for the new product line was inspired." She blushed, pleased despite herself. The job had been challenging, learning new systems, proving herself to skeptical colleagues, overcoming the whispers about how she'd really gotten the position. But she was good at it. Better than good. And slowly people were starting to notice her work instead of her story. There she is. Zara followed Minho's gaze across the ballroom and felt her stomach drop. Nkechi stood near the bar, wearing a stunning red dress, talking to a cluster of well-dressed people. She looked thinner than Zara remembered, harder somehow, but still beautiful in that untouchable way she'd always had. She wasn't on the guest list, Minho said quietly. She probably came as someone's +1. Zara's hands tightened on her champagne flute. It's fine. This is a big room. We don't have to talk to her. But even as she said it, Nkechi's eyes found hers across the crowd. For a moment they just stared at each other. Two sisters who'd once shared a room and secrets and dreams, now strangers in expensive dresses. Then Nkechi raised her glass in a mocking toast and turned away. Are you okay? Minho asked. I don't know. Zara set down her champagne before she could drop it. She's my sister. I know she hurt me. I know she tried to destroy us. But she's still my sister, and I don't know how to just turn that off. You don't have to turn it off. You just have to decide what you're willing to accept from her going forward. Before Zara could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. A late arrival was making their way through the crowd, and something about the way people reacted, stepping aside, whispering, suggested this was someone important. The crowd parted, and Zara felt the blood drain from her face. Damilola, her ex-fiancé, walking into the gala like he owned it, wearing a tuxedo that fit him perfectly, his megawatt smile charming everyone in range. You've got to be kidding me, Zara whispered. Minho followed her gaze, his expression darkening. Who is that? My ex. The engineer I was engaged to before I moved to Seoul. Her mind raced, trying to understand. What is he doing here? They got their answer moments later when Damilola made his way to where Nkechi was standing. He kissed her cheek, his hand possessive on her waist, and she smiled at him with genuine warmth. Oh my God, Zara breathed. She's dating my ex-fiancé. That's... Minho searched for words. Strategic. It was strategic. It was also perfectly viciously Nkechi. Zara had taken something Nkechi wanted, the CEO, the position, the happiness. So Nkechi had taken something of Zara's. Never mind that Zara didn't want Damilola anymore. That the engagement had been a mistake. That she dodged a bullet when it ended. This was about power. About revenge. About proving that Nkechi could still win. We should go, Minho said quietly. We don't need to stay here. No. Zara straightened her shoulders, lifting her chin. I'm not running anymore. I'm not giving her the satisfaction. She took Minho's hand and walked directly toward her sister and her ex-fiancé, feeling like she was walking into battle. Which, in a way, she was. Nkechi, what a surprise to see you here. Her sister turned, and up close Zara could see the calculation in her eyes. Zara, how nice that they let you attend. I wasn't sure if staff members were invited. I'm here as Mr. Kang's wife, actually. But thank you for your concern. Damilola was staring at her with undisguised interest. Zara, is that really you? You look different. She looks happy, Minho said, his arm sliding around Zara's waist. I'm Kang Minho, Zara's husband. The way he said husband was a declaration of ownership but also of partnership, of choosing each other. Damilola's smile faltered slightly. Husband. Wow. Congratulations. He didn't sound sincere, that was fast. When you know, Zara said simply. And Nkechi, I see you've moved on as well. How long have you two been together? 3 months? Nkechi said, her hand sliding into Damilola's. He reached out after hearing I'd left Kang Industries. We reconnected over our shared experiences with you. The barb hit its mark, but Zara refused to flinch. I'm glad you found each other. Really, you both deserve to be happy. The sincerity in her voice seemed to throw Nkechi off balance. You don't care? Why would I care? Damilola and I weren't right for each other. I know that now. just like this job wasn't right for you. Zara paused, then decided to be brave. I'm sorry things ended the way they did between us, Nkechi. I never wanted to hurt you or take anything from you, but I'm not going to apologize for being happy. Happy? Nkechi laughed, but it sounded hollow. You married a man you barely know, based on a mistaken identity. You call that happiness? I call that fate correcting itself, Minho said quietly. We may have met by accident, but loving each other is the most deliberate choice either of us has ever made. And I'd make it again, every single day. He looked at Zara when he said it, and the love in his eyes was so clear, so undeniable, that even In-Kichi couldn't pretend it was fake. Well, Damilola said, clearly uncomfortable with the emotion, this has been lovely, but we should mingle. Actually, Nkechi interrupted, her voice strange. Can I talk to my sister? Alone. Minho looked at Zara, a question in his eyes. She nodded. It's okay. I'll be right back. The two men walked away, Minho reluctantly, Damilola eagerly, leaving the sisters standing together in a bubble of tension and history. I don't know what to say to you, Nkechi said finally. I'm angry at you. I'm jealous of you. But I'm also tired of this. Tired of fighting. Then stop fighting, Zara said gently. We don't have to be enemies, Nkechi, don't we? You have everything I worked for. Everything I wanted. Do I? Or do I just have different things? Zara gestured around the ballroom. You wanted power and respect and recognition, and you'll get those things somewhere else, with someone else. But this, Minho, this life, it was never meant for you, just like Damilola was never meant for me. Nkechi was quiet for a long moment, something vulnerable flickering across her face. When did you get so wise? When I stopped trying to be someone I wasn't. When I stopped apologizing for wanting different things than you. Zara took a breath. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm not even asking you to forgive me. But can we at least stop trying to destroy each other? I don't know, Nkechi said honestly. You're my little sister. Hating you has been part of my identity for so long. I'm not sure who I am without it. The admission was so raw, so unexpectedly honest that Zara felt tears prick her eyes. Maybe you could try being my sister again. Just my sister. Not my rival. Not my enemy. Just family. Nkechi looked away, blinking hard. Maybe someday. But not today. Okay, not today. Zara squeezed her sister's hand briefly. But someday. She walked back to Minho feeling lighter somehow, like she'd put down a weight she hadn't known she was carrying. He pulled her into his arms and she let herself relax against him, breathing in his familiar scent. How did it go? He murmured against her hair. Better than I expected. Worse than I hoped. Somewhere in the middle, which feels right. They danced after that, swaying to music played by a live orchestra, surrounded by people who were slowly, gradually accepting their story. Not everyone believed in them yet. Some never would. But standing there in Minho's arms, Zara realized she didn't need everyone to believe. She just needed to believe in herself. In him. In them. What are you thinking? He asked, reading her expression. I'm thinking that I went to the wrong café that day, met the wrong man, made the wrong choice. She smiled up at him, and it turned out to be the most right thing I've ever done. He kissed her then, in front of all the executives and the gossips and her sister and her ex. A kiss that tasted like champagne and promises, and the kind of happiness that comes from choosing each other every single day. When they finally pulled apart, the room had fallen silent, everyone watching. Minho kept his arms around her, addressing the crowd with quiet authority. For anyone still wondering about our story, here it is. We met by accident. We married impulsively. We fell in love intentionally. And that's all that matters, Amara added, her voice clear and strong. He wasn't the man I was supposed to meet. He's the man I was meant to meet, and I'd choose him again 1,000 times over. Applause started somewhere in the back. Hyejin, probably, always her champion, and spread through the room. Not everyone joined in. Some people still whispered, still doubted, but enough people clapped, enough people smiled, that Zara felt the last of her fear dissolve. This was her life now. Not perfect, not easy, but hers. Built on truth and choice and the kind of love that only comes from seeing someone completely and choosing them anyway. 6 months later, they stood in front of the same government office where they'd gotten married the first time. But this time they weren't alone. Hyejin was there, and a few friends from work, and even Nkechi, standing in the back with an expression that might have been grudging approval. We're already married, Zara had said when Minho suggested this. Why do it again? Because the first time we were two people who barely knew each other, taking a leap of faith. This time we're two people who've weathered storms together and chose each other anyway. That deserves to be celebrated. So they renewed their vows. With witnesses. With intention. With rings they'd chosen together. When the official pronounced them husband and wife, Minho cupped Zara's face in his hands and said the words he'd promised to keep saying. I love you. I choose you. Intentionally. Completely. Today. And every day. Even though I went to the wrong café? She asked, smiling through happy tears. Especially because you went to the wrong café. It led you to me. They kissed, and their small crowd cheered. And Zara thought about the chain of accidents and misunderstandings that had brought her here. The wrong address, the wrong man, the wrong sister in the wrong company, all of it wrong, all of it leading to something so profoundly right. Later at the small celebration dinner, Nkechi pulled Zara aside. They hadn't spoken much in the past months, cautious texts on birthdays, careful politeness when their paths crossed. But something in Nkechi's expression was different now, softer. I owe you an apology, Nkechi said quietly, for a lot of things, but mostly for not seeing that your happiness didn't diminish mine. That there was room for both of us to win. Zara felt her throat tighten. You don't have to. I do. And I am. Nkechi took a breath. Damilola and I broke up. He was... She laughed, bitter and knowing. He was exactly who you knew he was. I just couldn't see it, because I was too busy trying to hurt you. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a lesson I needed to learn. Nkechi looked at Minho across the room, laughing at something Hyejin had said. He really loves you. I can see that now. It's not an act. Not a mistake. Just love. Yeah, Zara said softly. It is. I started therapy, Nkechi added, the words coming fast like she needed to get them out before she lost her nerve, trying to understand why I needed to compete with you so badly, why I couldn't just let you have your own life. That's really good, Nkechi. It's hard, realizing you're the villain in someone else's story. She met Zara's eyes. I don't know if we'll ever be close again, but maybe we can be civil, friendly eventually. I'd like that, Zara said, meaning it. I'd like that a lot. They hugged, awkward and tentative, but it was a start. And sometimes, Zara thought, starts were enough. The dinner wound down, guests filtering out with well wishes and congratulations. Finally, it was just Zara and Minho in his apartment, the city lights of Seoul twinkling below them like fallen stars. No regrets? He asked, pulling her close on the couch. She thought about it seriously, about the hard conversations and the public scrutiny and the family drama. About the nights she'd cried and the moments she'd doubted. About every difficult choice that had led her here. Not a single one, she said, except that we wasted any time avoiding each other. He kissed her forehead, but we have the rest of our lives to make up for it. The rest of our lives, she repeated, testing the words. They felt good, right, like a promise she actually believed in. Outside, Seoul buzzed with its millions of lives and stories, each person navigating their own maze of right and wrong choices. Somewhere in the city, someone was probably walking into the wrong café, meeting the wrong person, making a mistake that would change their life. And maybe, just maybe, it would be exactly the mistake they needed to make. Zara curled into Minho's arms, listening to his heartbeat, steady and sure. She thought about that first day, nervous and lost, walking into the wrong elevator, into the wrong life, into everything she'd never known she needed. Sometimes the wrong turn led you exactly where you belonged. Sometimes the wrong man was perfectly, impossibly right. And sometimes love was just choosing the same person over and over again, until choosing them felt as natural as breathing. I love you, she whispered. I know, he whispered back. I've always known. And in the heart of Seoul, in an apartment high above the city, two people who'd met by accident held each other and chose each other and built a life on the foundation of beautiful serendipitous mistakes. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Afro-Korean Drama TV, and hit that notification bell.